Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this deep dive into one of the most important developments in global geopolitics. Today, we are going to talk about something that is not only changing the way India positions itself in the world, but also reshaping the global economic order: the landmark investment treaty between India and Israel. At first glance, it might just look like another bilateral agreement, another memorandum of understanding, something routine in international relations. But when you scratch beneath the surface, you realize that this deal is packed with layers of meaning, layers that stretch across defense, trade, agriculture, technology, diplomacy, and global power alignments. And when you realize who the players are, India and Israel, you begin to understand why the entire world is watching very carefully. Now, let's start by setting the stage. India today is the world's fifth largest economy. It is ambitious, it is growing, and it is positioning itself as the voice of the global South. On the other side, you have Israel, a small but technologically advanced nation. A country that punches far above its weight when it comes to defense, cybersecurity, water technology, agriculture, and innovation. For years, the India-Israel partnership has been described as natural allies. Both are democracies. Both face common security threats. Both rely heavily on innovation. And both want to maintain strategic autonomy in a world increasingly divided between big power blocs. This new treaty is not just about investments. It's about trust, about shared visions, and about building a relationship that could reshape how Asia and the Middle East interact with the wider world. So, what exactly is this treaty? At its core, it's about creating a secure framework for investments between India and Israel. It gives legal protection to investors, ensures that their money is safe from political uncertainties, and creates a roadmap for deeper economic cooperation. But beyond the technical language, the treaty symbolizes confidence. Confidence that India and Israel see each other, not just as trade partners, but as long-term strategic allies. Now let's pause and think about this. Why does this matter? Why is this treaty different from the hundreds of other investment treaties signed every year across the globe? It matters because of timing. Look around at the world today. We are living in an era of trade wars, tariff disputes, supply chain disruptions, and growing geopolitical rivalry. The United States and China are locked in a contest that is shaking the foundations of global commerce. Europe is struggling with war in Ukraine and energy insecurity. The Middle East is at a crossroads, with shifting alliances and new rivalries. And in this uncertain world, India and Israel are telling the world, we trust each other. We are willing to put our money where our mouth is. We are willing to bet on a shared future. That is what makes this treaty special. Think about the sectors where this will play out. Defense is the obvious one. Israel has long been one of India's biggest defense suppliers, from drones and missile systems to cutting-edge radar and cybersecurity solutions. With this treaty, Israeli defense firms will have more confidence to invest directly in India's growing defense manufacturing ecosystem under Make in India. This could mean more joint ventures, more technology transfer, and faster modernization for India's armed forces. Then comes agriculture. Remember, Israel is a desert nation, but it has turned itself into a global leader in water management, drip irrigation, and desert farming. India, with its vast agricultural base, can learn enormously from Israeli innovations. Imagine Israeli agri-tech companies investing in Indian states, setting up demonstration farms, training farmers, and bringing cutting-edge solutions to improve productivity and reduce water wastage. This is not just business. This is about food security for a country of 1.4 billion people. Then we move to startups and innovation. Israel is called the startup nation. India is home to the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. Imagine what happens when these two innovation hubs connect. We are looking at collaborations in artificial intelligence, fintech, cybersecurity, medical technology, and renewable energy. This treaty provides the confidence and protection that investors need to take risks in these sectors. But the story doesn't stop there. Let's talk diplomacy. This treaty is also a signal to the rest of the world. It says that India is willing to deepen ties with nations that share its strategic outlook. It shows that Israel is looking east, beyond its traditional Western partners, and finding a reliable partner in India. And it sends a message not just to Washington or Beijing, but to capitals across the globe that the Indo-Israeli relationship is entering a new, irreversible phase. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. This treaty is not happening in isolation. It's happening at a time when the Abraham Accords have reshaped West Asian politics. When Israel is opening up to the Gulf, and when India is strengthening its footprint in the Middle East, the India-Israel partnership is, in many ways, becoming a bridge between Asia and the Middle East, a bridge between technology and markets, a bridge between innovation and scale. So, the big question is, what does this mean for ordinary people? How does a treaty signed between two governments thousands of miles away impact you and me? The answer is simple. When defense ties grow, our soldiers on the border are safer. When agri-tech investments come in, our farmers produce more with less. When startups collaborate, our young innovators get new opportunities. When trade expands, jobs are created and economies grow. In short, this treaty is not just about governments, it is about people. It is about building a future where opportunities are wider, risks are lower, and trust is deeper. But of course, every opportunity comes with challenges. There will be skeptics. Some will say India should not get too close to Israel, given sensitivities in the Arab world. Others will warn about overdependence on foreign technology. Still, others will ask whether these investments will really trickle down to the grassroots level. And yet, let's also remember the values at play here. Both India and Israel are democracies. Both are nations that have fought for their survival. Both know the value of resilience. When they come together, they are not just signing contracts. They are affirming a belief in freedom, in innovation, and in self-reliance. That is why this partnership resonates beyond borders. As we conclude this journey, let us think about what history will say. Years from now, when people look back, they may not remember every detail of the treaty, but they will remember that in the early 21st century, two nations, one the world's largest democracy, the other one of its most resilient democracies, chose to walk together, chose to invest in each other, and chose to create a new model of partnership. So, the final thought is this. The India-Israel Treaty is not the end of a story. It is the beginning of one. A story of shared vision, shared risk, and shared hope. A story that tells the world that even in an age of rivalry, nations can find common ground. A story that reminds us that the future is not written by the biggest powers alone, but also by those who dare to dream and to trust. And if there is one message we can take away tonight, it is this. When trust meets vision, when resilience meets innovation. When India meets Israel, the world will feel the impact.